Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Orange Grove 55. In this video, I brought my two great friends with me, Vash Guy and Disney Family Man 23, to discuss MagicKey and the new Walt Disney World Annual Pass program. We're going to discuss it all right now. All right, welcome guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. Like I said, we're going to talk a little MagicKey, a little annual pass for Walt Disney World. I'm going to go and introduce my panel, and we're going to dive right in. So first on the panel is Mr. Vash Sky, host of Freshly Squeezed. How you doing today, Vash?
Doing very well, sir. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. So where can everyone at home find you on social media, sir?
Hey, best place to find me is going to be, well, in video form, it's going to be on your channel, Orange Grove 55 at Freshly Squeezed, your source for news and juicy info, squeezed fresh right from the Grove. On Twitter, you know where to find me, at VashGuy right here. Let's get into it.
Perfect. And down below, we have the D Family Man 23, George. George, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Doing good. Where can everyone at home find you, sir?
Well, you can find me on my YouTube channel at Disney Family Man 23. You could also find me on Twitter at Disney George, and also on your channel as well, as I join you and Vash Sky for these lengthy Disney discussions.
Perfect. Well, let's dive right in. We have a lot to discuss today. So first and foremost, I want to kind of talk about I'll start with George. Let's talk about this Walt Disney World Annual Pass program that was announced. Was it yesterday, I believe?
Yes.
Oh, it was yesterday. Yes. What are your overall? You're more of a Walt Disney World guy. What are your overall thoughts on it? Feelings, concerns? What's on your mind?
Well, we all knew at some point in time the Walt Disney World Annual Passes were going to be coming back online, especially after Disneyland announced the MagicKeys, and they even put it in their description below after the description of the MagicKeys. You know, Walt Disney World will be getting their passes soon, so we were all anticipating on when that would be, and it was under speculation it was going to be before the 50th anniversary. So it's just a matter of time when. We were all thinking pretty much at the end of September, closer to the beginning of October. But Disney, once again, threw us a little curveball and saying, no, it's going to be September 8th, you know. So, and for me, it's kind of funny because I hear people online saying, you know, they're anticipating it's going to be a higher price range. It's going to be more than what it was before the pandemic, before the shutdown. But yet at the same time, when they get these numbers, it's just an all-out social media war of saying, oh my God, I can't believe Disney raised it that much. For me, based on what I thought it was going to be, the price really wasn't as bad. The only discrepancy that I have is that they cut some of the perks that went along with the annual pass, such as Photopass, those small little things that kind of make up that price. So, you know, when you level it out, it's okay, they raise the price, but then they take something away from it. So where does that balance begin? And I'm okay with the price hike of it. My thing was, I just wish that they would have kept the benefits. Don't add anything more, but just keep what already was part of the annual pass. Right. So, I mean, luckily for my Walt Disney World Annual Pass, my renewal time was July 1st. Okay. And I was lucky to get that price locked in. Now, for next year, I'll have to pay for that Incredipass, which is the highest tier. And I just think it's kind of funny, like with the names that they chose. Like I could just see these guys in the suit and tie sitting at these tables, and they're like running down a whole entire list. It's like, okay, we're gonna name the top tier Incredipass. You know, like
it's okay. It's pretty cringy. I mean, I'll be honest with you. The names are very. I think in my opinion.
I'm sorry, it being Disney, it's very generic and kind of juvenile. That's something like I would expect my 11-year-old son to say. You know what? Let's name it Incredipass. Let's name it Pixie Dust Pass. It's like, really?
It's really bad. It's almost like some like Disney online name generator. And they, Pixie Dust. Pixie Dust Pass. Pirates. Incredipass. It's like so like I don't know. It doesn't work for me.
That's the voice you need to do for your orange nerd. That was perfect.
Whole show like that.
Yeah, the names are really, really, and here's the thing too is they needed to stick with like a theme. If you want to have these kind of names, stick with one thing, stick with like Tinkerbell, right? And have all the tiers themed to her, Pixie Dust, Fairy, but they're just all over the place. What do you think, Dre? What are your feelings on the pass, the names, the prices?
Oh yeah, the names are just. I think I told you at the time. It was like these are names that you sell for tickets at Kitty Funland,
right.
For like $12, not passes that you assign to people who are spending, upwards of $1,000 on these things. So I don't know. I would have liked for them to have stuck with a theme. Hey, you got 4 parks, maybe do something with that. You got 4 monorail line hotels that people love. Maybe do something with that. I don't know. Embrace your history, especially before the 50th. I think it would have worked, but all right, whatever. This is what we're going with. Oh boy. But that with these passes, I think they use some similar in order to construct these passes, these tier types. They use some similar tactics that they were using for Disneyland. So you're allotted a certain amount of days depending on which pass you go with. You guys at the lowest tier get I think like $3.99. $3.99. I think you get 3 days, whereas I think we only get 2.
3. Yeah, it's 3.
Yeah, and then at the the highest tier, I think you get 5, whereas we get 6. They're still not doing multiple reservations per. If you want to park hop that day, which is nice, but they always add that language subject to change, and I'm sure it will.
Yes, and I think it's kind of funny that our annual passes include parking. Every single pass includes parking. Now, if you actually look at the logistics of that, is when you stay on Walt Disney World property, 9 out of 10 times you're going to stay on property at a hotel.
Right.
So, I mean, yes, you have like the locals that'll take their car, but I mean, like the percentage-wise, you're going to have guests flying down, staying on property. So they're not going to use the parking anyway. So they're like, let's just give it to them free. Where Disneyland, it's more of. I don't like to use it's a locals park. I really don't like using that term, but it's more California residents as of right now that would utilize the parking. So it's like, well, unless you're getting the highest tier, you're going to pay out the wazoo. You're either going to pay 50% for the next tier down, or you're just going to pay full price for parking.
Yeah, and you can say locals park. I won't cut you. I promise, George.
I think it's kind of funny because. And I actually agree with you. I don't really see it as a locals park because if it was truly a locals park, I'm actually the poster child for that because I'm not a California resident, and yet I paid for the Dream Key. Because
really?
Yes, I did. I actually I kind of went through all my options, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna, because my schedule with work and everything can change from time to time. I don't like having the notion of having a block out date. So if it's like whenever I can go, I'm just going to pick a date, pick a time, get the reservations, and go on out.
Now I was surprised, and I'll be complete. This is like full disclosure because I'm not very familiar with Walt Disney World, the ins and outs, the details of all this stuff. But in my head, I thought the annual passes were a lot cheaper than Disneyland. And then when I saw this, I'm like, well, they're almost the same price as Disneyland's now. Did they really, was it a big jump from what it was before? Because now they're like kind of almost the same pricing.
Yeah, not really, because what a lot of people don't understand is when the Florida residents are looking at the price of saying, okay, it was 800, what was it, 893, with their Florida, discount and everything, and now it's jumping up to $12.99, what have you. But with me not being a Florida resident, it only went up, I'd say maybe about an extra $100. Now with the Photopass, you can add that on, but you have to pay an additional $100. And for a water park, you have to add another 90 some dollars. So if you want to have the full package of doing the water parks, the Photopass and everything, it's going to cost roughly, with the highest tier, about $1,500. So I can see where the Florida residents have that gripe with the change of the pass, because for them to go regularly, they would have to keep putting out $100 for Photopass, $100 for the water parks. And it's not just for, so if you actually say a Florida resident likes to go to the water parks a couple times a month, they're forking out $200 to $300 a month. Wow. Depending on how many times they want to go, added on to the annual pass.
Wow. Now, Vash, what are your thoughts in regards to this, like the differing approaches for these passes? The branding, just the benefits, the lack of benefits. What are your takeaways from how Disney's approaching these two resorts?
I don't think I was necessarily surprised. I think I was surprised that they, I think I am surprised that they disincentivize locals a little bit, because it's not really, local annual visitation doesn't make up a huge percentage. Relatively speaking to Disneyland. Right. But what it does get you is, hey, people go in there and they, book restaurants for, now it's going to be Harmonious. They dine, they shop there and stuff like that. So I don't know. For me, it's like, don't you want to incentivize that behavior a little bit? I understand you don't want, lines to be cluttered and you don't want overcrowding, sure, but you can control all that with the reservation system. So I'm not quite sure why they were so aggressive in removing features and so forth that they had before, and where this price alignment is. It's interesting with the water park situation. Yeah, it is unfortunate that is not included on these pass types. I will say, with that $100 that they're charging you, I think it was our buddy Showcase that said, hey, mini golf and some things that they added to it, right? Which is good. At least you're getting those with your $100. There is an upside to where you can add this onto any pass tier, whereas previously I think it was restricted to the higher tiers. Is that correct, George?
Well, yes.
So that's a potential benefit, although it's like, it's, but then Photopass is like, man, you're gonna charge $100 for that? Like, come on, like that's a little, that's
where I think it was like hitting below the knees, like just as you were kind of being vulnerable of saying, hey, we just got Magical Express taken away from us. So it's like, okay, here are the annual passes. We raised the price a little bit, but just so you know, you have to pay for your photos. And I guess for me, I utilized Photopass because I knew it was part already of my annual pass. I think as far as forking out the extra $100, I may, but I go to Walt Disney World every single year, and I have my phone. If I want to I like to just take my own pictures and selfies, and I could do it for free. If you want to have that family moment, where, you have a group photo in front of Cinderella's castle, I would just honestly just pay for it individually if that's really what you're looking for. Unless you really know that you want to utilize the Photopass, And I think that's pretty much why Disney is making it where you have to pay extra. So it's like, if you really want to utilize it, how bad do you really want it?
You know, it's interesting about Photopass in that I kind of like, I don't really see the point in, like, I'm with you, George. Like, I mean, we all have like these really high quality like cameras in our phone, in our pockets now. And it's like, I've had countless times at Disneyland where I'll be with my girlfriend and we want a picture, say in front of the castle or in front of, you know, the Ferris wheel at DCA or something like that. And I'll just ask somebody, hey, you know, a nice family, like, hey, would you guys, you know, mind taking a picture of us? And like 10 out of 10 times, people don't care. They're like, yeah, sure. 2 minutes and they're done. And it's a good picture. I mean, I don't know if I need a cast member and this high, you know, camera lens. Like, I don't need all that. I mean, it's different for everybody though. You know, it's different for everybody. And I know that the Photopass also offers other little perks. You know, you could have a picture with like Baby Yoda, like, you know, and like stuff like that. I get that. But for me, it's like far and few between. I could do without the Photopass, but it's popular. I've seen on Twitter, like people really loves it. Yeah.
So you got your picture taken in front of the Ferris wheel, or as I like to call it, the wheel of identity crisis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Pixar pal around. Mickey? All right.
It's going through some shit, George. Give it some time to heal. Come on. Definitely though.
You know, it's interesting. You know, you sent that tweet over to me, OG, about the photo supply store at the end of Main Street at Disneyland getting relocated, potentially because, you know, I mean, less emphasis is placed on it during the day, whereas it might have, you know, a large swath of guests come in at the end of the day to make purchases and stuff like that. So why have this kind of prime real estate here? Let's move it outside the gates to the Esplanade. So you know, I think we're all kind of re-examining how we look at photos and our memories and that kind of thing. It's interesting that they would monetize in this way. Hey, look, if you want Photopass, I guess at Disneyland, I guess they're going to make it part of Genie Plus or whatever, and you're going to pay per day for it. So Walt Disney World, you might be getting a good deal, all things considered. Now, do you think do you think there'll be families who will just get one Photopass for the group and kind of run their luck that way? Or
that's what I'm thinking. I think that people are going to try to find some loopholes, because I've even known some families that actually are just getting one annual pass for their family, and depending on how long that they're staying at Walt Disney World, they'll just buy a base ticket but use that one annual pass just to get the discounts for food and merchandise. And because it's like, if you're all just going to be able, now if you were able to combine those percentages per annual pass, then it would be worth it. But I mean, unless you know that you're going multiple times with these same family members, other than that, it'd probably be best just to get one annual pass and then just do one purchase, one bill, and then just get, what is it? I think it's 20. Is it still 20%?
They say up to 20% off.
That's right. It said up to 20%.
Yeah.
See, that actually concerns me more than that concerns me more than the Photopass, because
you go. What is it? You go down to what is Casey's Corner to get like a hot dog, right? In Main Street.
Off.
That's 20% off. But you go to California Grill up there in the Contemporary. Do we say up to 20? 5%. You know, I think they're going to do that kind of shenanigans.
Go to Casey's Corner, buy the wiener, get the bun free.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I have to ask you guys. I'm really, really curious about this. I really want your guys' opinion on this. And why do you think? And actually, Vash, our buddy on Twitter, Hedge, our good friend Hedge, got to give him a shout out.
Oh yeah, great fan of the channel. Great guy. He's hilarious.
He's great. He's absolutely great. But he was asking me this question, and I honestly I don't know the answer to it.
Sure.
But what's with the different branding? You know, I understand like the benefits and the approach in terms of pricing and things like that, because there are different demographics in Anaheim compared to that of Orlando. Mm-hmm. But he was asking me, you know, why the different branding? Why not just have the Walt Disney World just be MagicKey too?
That's what I actually was going to ask you both. He actually took my question that I was going to ask you, because I can't wrap my head around it. that they have all this cost cutting in the parks with Magical Express. They're raising the prices on the annual pass, but yet they put so much money to really, if you really think about it, how much money it takes to remarket, rebrand, rechange all these things that for me, it's kind of unnecessary. I actually preferred when they just called it, the premium pass, or, and now it's like we're getting the Incredible Pass, it's like, wow. It's like
they used to have like the Kingdom Club back in the day, and those kind of things. It is kind of a weird thing because it's like on the one hand with Genie and Genie Plus, you're unifying all of these systems and they're kind of step forward with these kind of fast pass systems and stuff. So we used to have Max Pass in Disneyland and Fast Pass Plus in Walt Disney World. So it's like, let's unify that, let's streamline that, and make it this kind of this system that is that people can understand on both coasts, and we don't have this confusion, right? But then we're gonna differentiate on this. It's just it's a really strange modality, because it's like I thought we were unifying brand names. I thought we were coming closer in Disneyland and Walt Disney World operations, at least with these things. And it's like, why have the different branding? It is kind of strange.
And that's why when I used to have the Premier Passport, it covered for Walt Disney World and Disneyland. Yeah. As of right now, I can't foresee that ever becoming, because you have the names for everything of Disneyland and all the names for Walt Disney World. And normally, before all this happened, it was just you either had a Disneyland Annual Pass and a Walt Disney World Annual Pass. Now you have to actually give a whole description of what your pass is. So it's like, if you actually combined, instead of it called the Premier Passport, what is it going to be called? The Incredible MagicKey? It's like...
I was just going to say, it's going to be the Incredible. That's what it's going to be, the Incredible.
It's crazy. It would just seem from like a marketing perspective, it would be smarter to have it just like all MagicKey or all annual passes. It would save them money, because whenever you do printed material or merchandise or anything, you just have one logo, one thing, and you can just pump it out and ship it to Orlando and Anaheim. Now you have these two different styles, all different names, all different tiers. It just seems like more work, and it just seems less effective from a marketing standpoint,
Do you think this might be because of maybe potential brand confusion, because these programs, they do have their own kind of differences? Obviously, they facilitate one resort from another, but they do have different days and so forth. Do you think it might be just marketing a product on both coasts and getting rid of that brand confusion between these things?
The only thing that I could think of is because of the shutdown and everything, it really showed how different Walt Disney World and Disneyland really is, based on their locations, based on the size of the resorts itself, based off of daily operations. So I could definitely understand if that's why that they did it this way. But other than that, I can't really see any other reason why they would do it. I mean, me personally, if they were to keep it as a name, I prefer the MagicKey names over this generic thing of Walt Disney World.
I agree with you. And George, I'm going to share something with you right now. This is actually from our friends over at Laughing Place. And I thought this was a really cool sign. This is in the MagicKey Lounge I think it's in Tomorrowland right now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
From today. But the MagicKey, and I've said this so many times, but it's such a clear, concise, like cohesive branding campaign. And there's so much potential in terms of like unlock the magic, unlock the benefit. And it sounds cheesy, but but in terms of a marketing campaign, it's easier to market that than it is when you have Pixie Dust, Incredibles, Sorcerers, and Pirates.
Well, and especially because even before all this, Disney were, hashing out these keys, like one for Disney Plus and one for Marvel, one for Star Wars. So, I mean, it would all tie in that even if they were to have collectibles of the MagicKeys, based on which tier you have, that's a great marketing campaign.
That's not a bad point.
It's not a bad marketing campaign. It's a very clear and concise logo. It's coherent. But I think Dre, you're onto something when you said about like not confusing the two products in terms of the benefits and the cost on both coasts. I think you're right. I think they wanted to differentiate that, so they had to create different branding for both to kind of put that line, you know, so you don't confuse the two, because it could lead to issues. Because someone who, you know, well, look, hey, we're all tapped in. We're you know, full Disney. We're like neck deep in this, right? So we're very much aware of all this stuff, but the average person isn't, and they're going to Google MagicKey and they're going to pull up the Disneyland prices, and they're really wanting the Florida prices, and it's going to cause confusion, you know.
And I guess if you look at the history of the name changes and so forth, we had like deluxe, signature, you know, those kind of branding terms, whereas Walt Disney World, I think they had silver, gold, and stuff like that. So I think there was always a little bit of separation. My thing is the Walt Disney World just kind of seems slapdash. That photo that you had up was perfect because it kind of presents this kind of coherent product. But man, it's just like seems so rushed out in Walt Disney World with the names and so forth, and you know, taglines like "getting the magic into you," which is I don't know if I want to use that.
Whoa. Well, yeah. And I think
that tagline, maybe that's why they weren't using a key.
Well.
Can you feel the magic, fellas? It's in me now. Go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, it definitely, yeah, I think that also it comes down to like just the annual pass machine here in Anaheim is huge. Yeah. And I just think that, like any business, you're going to invest where like the money's at. And I just think that I think they probably did spend more time on the Disneyland program because there's just more of them, and it's a bigger piece of the Anaheim pie. Yeah. There was more riding on it, you know. The annual pass in Florida, it's more tourism over there, so it's a side thing more or less. You know, it's really the focus here though in Anaheim, so that might be part of it too. You know,
I think it is. I think Disneyland, you know, when they got rid of their annual pass system. That was a big change. That was quite a big step. Obviously, when they had kind of been, you know, they've been thinking about, hey, let's redo the entire annual pass system. But when they got rid of it, that was a big move, and I think they worked on it to deliver a product that was. I think it was kind of under the kind of old mindset that it was going to be this kind of loyalty program, but you know, obviously some things changed with that. And this is the key program, whereas I think Walt Disney World's like, let's get something out before October 1st. Like, we can't keep putting this off, and I think that may have been what happened. But I don't know. I'll look into it.
My terminology is that they named the Disneyland annual passes before the quarterly earnings. Then after they got that quarterly earnings, they all celebrated, knocked a couple few back, and then they had their meeting of what should we name Walt Disney Worlds.
But you know, the bigger implication here is, I think you're going to have a lot of people who are like, man, you know, it might cost so much to get my value out of you know, the Incredipass or whatever. Might go to individual tickets now, and you know, with reservations and things, you know, do you take the risk in getting an Incredipass and going and maybe not getting the dates that you set aside for yourself?
Now, wasn't that Disney's plan kind of all along, is even though they were, you know, keeping the pass holders as loyal guests and fans and everything, but they were still leaning towards just day-to-day guests just buying those basic tickets?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's accurate. I think it's accurate. I think they wanted guests to go in that direction. My thing though is like, I mean, you know, you've captured an entire audience for a year, and you know, to get value out of it, they have to come to you.
Right.
Without this kind of system that locks you to you know, Walt Disney World, I mean, you know, Universal becomes an option, especially, and they're getting rid of programs like Magical Express and you know, all these other things that kind of keep you locked in. And now, I don't know, maybe Universal's looking, maybe I should try that out.
Well, and I think that's funny because a lot of people online were posting in comparison For Walt Disney World, just the highest pass, $12.99. But for Universal and SeaWorld, that covers all their attractions, all their parks, $882 combined.
You know, it's interesting. I think I texted you, Dre, actually a few weeks ago. I said, have you seen the Universal Studios Hollywood annual pass prices? They're like insanely cheap. And I told you I'm going to get one, and I still am. I'm totally planning on getting one. My girlfriend's a total Harry Potter person. So yeah, she loves Wizarding World. That's her jam. She loves it. So I'm going to get the passes for sure. But it is tempting. You know, when you see a theme park like Universal that's charging far less, just like, you know,
$510.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's crazy. And you know, over there, you don't have to have reservations. You just show up, and when in the process of planning a vacation, that simplicity, I think it goes a long way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like I gotta be honest. Like I really want to plan a Walt Disney World trip. I've never been before. I really want to go. I want to see Epcot. I want to see Animal Kingdom. I'm just really curious, but the planning, it just sort of like, it's like, oh man, it's like I'm exhausted just thinking about it.
The one thing that you'll have that no one else will, that you got your own personal Walt Disney World tour guide here. So
that's true.
That's it. You know, that is a nice service. How much you charge there, George?
I'll cut it down like less than 3/4 of the annual pass.
Oh, it's a deal. That's a steal there, OG. But you might want to jump on that. I agree. There is a lot of complexity, and you know, when you buy a pass, it especially with reservations attached, you're kind of buying into an unknown. You know, how much am I going to be able to get out of this? With reservation, you know, as reservations are concerned, I think people in Disneyland are kind of figuring that out right now, going, wow, these last couple of weekends have booked up. If you bought a Dream Key for the weekend, specifically Saturdays, you're out of luck.
Right.
Well, and that's even like with DVC members.
Yeah.
That they're getting, I think, out of everybody, if you really look at the bigger picture, they're getting the shortest end of the stick.
Absolutely.
They're only allotted up to either the $900 some tier or the highest one, or the in Credit Pass, and they're not even allotted to have any of the other ones. So more so, you know, to be a DVC member and you're paying into that timeshare, chances are you're going to go more than twice a year, but yet you are forced to either have one of the two highest tiers to say, hey, you need one of these, otherwise you're not getting an annual pass.
You know, I was it's kind of funny because with the MagicKey service and stuff, people were kind of upset that these days we're booking out, and it's like, hey, look, that's kind of the deal. Once Disney has your money, they don't really have an obligation for you to give you any more days than the allotment, and what they kind of said, hey, you're going to be in competition with others to get these days. That's how reservations work. And look, you see what they do at DVC, and you know, overbooking properties and stuff, or overselling properties, I should say. That's deeded property, and even then, it's like, hey, you know what? You have competition with others for these rooms, and that's on you to make that work. And it's like this is how they're going, and man, I don't know. It makes me uncomfortable for sure.
But as you said, Vash, that there is a history of people that is so connected to this company, and I think that's where Disney has the upper hand. Is because when you invest so much time and money and effort to plan these vacations over many of years, and you are considered a diehard Disney fan, you know, as tempting as, you know, you may go to Universal a little more than what you're used to doing, but Disney knows you'll always go back.
It's true. I hate to say it, but it's true. I mean, it really does, and that's kind of the blessing and the curse, kind of, because Disney loves it, obviously, but then it also keeps us from getting better things, because people don't really vote with their wallet. They scream on Twitter how much they hate Disney, they hate Chapek, they hate price increases, they hate Genie, they hate this, they hate that, and then they buy into it.
6 hours. They're on for 6 hours to get the annual pass.
Right. They're on for a 6-hour queue to buy the annual pass that they just spent 2 weeks on Twitter complaining about. Right. You think Disney cares that you were complaining for 2 weeks when you just gave them all your money?
That's it.
And that's why they don't take us serious when we're trying to tell them, hey, we want this, we want that, because it's like at the end of the day, we give in anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
They're still coming back. So why do anything different, right? Because you're going to say everything out to the world, but you're going to be in line just like everybody else. So that's it, right?
And those are the ones that are up at 4:30 in the morning, standing up by the turnstiles, waiting for the park to open.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the issue. And really, like, people always complain about, like, the price hikes and the upcharges and all that, but Disney will only do what they can get away with.
Absolutely.
And the minute you stop buying into what they're selling, look, they're going to notice that. Okay, I'll take Star Wars. Perfect example.
Yeah. Star
Wars. Star Wars is like Disney in the sense that there's a passionate fan base, right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And people have been complaining about the Kennedy era, for years. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't until Solo: A Star Wars Story flopped that they started to change how they proceeded. They started limiting the releases. They really started to kind of restructure and reshuffle things. Money matters, right?
Yeah.
It matters. And it wasn't until Solo flopped that they started to take notice. And the same thing with the parks. They're not going to take notice until you stop buying that stuff,
Think about what happened with Wizarding World, right? When Wizarding World came up and people started spending dollars at Universal and going, hey, let's cut out a day at Epcot or cut out a day at, Magic Kingdom to go to, Universal a couple more days or to go to Universal at all to see this Wizarding World, they took notice. That's when we got Pandora. That's when we got Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. That's when we got all those great additions that we've come to know from these parks is because, hey, people started spending money elsewhere.
Because I think it was funny because staying at a Disney hotel and you'd see all these people coming into their hotel at the end of the day and you didn't see them with Disney bags. They had Wizarding World Universal bags. And I mean, like they had like 3 on each hand. Wow. And it's like, wow, it's like, okay, well, I could see where they're staying on Disney property, but look where they actually spent all their money.
Right. Yeah.
And at what point do they go, you know what? Staying on Walt Disney World property, what is it, like 200, 300% more expensive than Universal? Maybe I'll just stay at Universal and go to Disney. And you could see how that paradigm slowly shifts. Look, as fans and everything, when you accept these changes, you've now told Disney that this is acceptable. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. You have to vote with your wallet. If you don't like something, then don't buy it. And when people like these fans, they complain on Twitter and social media all day for days and days and weeks on end, and then they're, hey, I'm in the 14-hour queue for the new MagicKey. It's like, it's crazy, you guys. It's absolutely crazy.
And then you're back out in the park buying the $40 Mossiers.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how this all pans out going forward. But I appreciate you fellas as always coming on. Thank you so much. I'll start with you, Vash, then we'll go down to the Disney Family Man. Where can they find you on social media?
Simple. Find me on social media at Vash Sky on Twitter, and if you want to see me in video form, I'll be on your channel, Orange Grove 55 at Freshly Squeezed, your source for juice and news and info, squeezed fresh right from the Grove.
Yes. And actually, Mr. Freshly Squeezed, we dropped a lot of videos on the Freshly Squeezed. We had a great conversation about a host of things. I'll link it down below. Check it out. It was a really, really cool conversation.
Absolutely.
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, absolutely. It was very, very cool. Lots of great info, lots of great... I mean, it wasn't just about my trip. We talked about a lot of stuff, so tune in for sure.
Check it out. Mr. Family Man, where can they find you at home, sir?
You can find me on YouTube at Disney Family Man 23, and you could also find me on Twitter at Disney George, and also on Instagram. You could actually find me under the Disney Family Man banner as well. I always forget about the Instagram, so definitely check that out. Like from a lot of my trips, I do a lot of on location photos, so definitely check them out.
Awesome. Well, thank you, fellas, for joining me, and thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. Comment below. What do you guys think about MagicKey? What do you guys think about the Walt Disney World Annual Pass program? The pricing for both, the branding, the differences. Just comment with everything that's on your mind. Love to discuss it with you guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.